Take a breath, not to fix, not to solve, not to resist, just to notice. You are here, and that is enough. In the vast and tender teachings of Buddhism, there is a truth that echoes through centuries. Suffering is not a mistake. It is part of the human path. To feel pain, confusion, despair, even numbness, these are not signs of failure. They are invitations to be present with what is. It's okay to not be okay. The Buddha never promised we would be spared from sadness or anxiety. In fact, he began his journey by acknowledging the existence of suffering. This was not a pessimistic view, but a compassionate and clear-eyed recognition of reality. We hurt, we grieve, we feel overwhelmed, and within that, we also have the capacity to awaken. Not in spite of our brokenness, but through it. Like a cracked pot that still holds water, we carry our pain and our beauty together. The Zen path does not demand that you erase your wounds or perfect your emotions. It asks only that you stay, that you be with whatever arises as gently as you can. There is no enlightenment that floats above sorrow. There is only the invitation to touch your life with presence, even when it trembles. When you feel like collapsing, breathe. When tears rise, let them fall without shame. When your thoughts spiral, watch them with the eyes of compassion. Buddhism teaches that everything changes, even this. So your despair is not permanent. Your sense of being lost is not the end of the story. There is always another breath. There is always this moment. And in this moment, you are allowed to feel exactly what you feel. In fact, that is the practice. To notice what is here, to bow to it inwardly, and to let go of the need to fix it all. Right now, the lotus does not bloom by force. It rises slowly from the mud, opening when it is ready. So too your heart. Healing does not always look like joy. Sometimes it looks like sitting in silence and choosing not to run away. It looks like waking up in the middle of the night and placing a hand on your chest, reminding yourself you are trying, and that is enough. The truth is, you do not need to be better than you are. You need to be honest with where you are, to name your pain, to honor your struggle, and to keep walking. One step, one breath, one act of kindness, especially toward yourself. The brokenness you feel does not make you less. It makes you real. It connects you to every other being who has sat in the dark and whispered, "I can't do this." And yet here you are, reading, listening, breathing. That is strength. That is practice. And even if you do not feel it now, know that within you there is stillness deeper than any storm. Buddhism points not to escape, but to embrace, not to fixing, but to understanding. The path is not about becoming someone else. It is about meeting yourself as you are, again and again, with kindness. When you forget this, come back to the breath. When you feel overwhelmed, put your hand on your heart. When you want to give up, rest instead. Be patient with yourself. Like the seasons, your being knows how to renew. You aren't broken beyond repair. You are unfolding. Slowly, tenderly, just as you need to. Trust that. Trust that being alive, in all its complexity, is still sacred. And remember, the light that shines through your cracks is not a flaw. It is how the world sees your soul. So let yourself be soft. Let yourself feel. Let yourself fall apart and come back together as many times as needed. This too is the path. This too is enough. It's okay to not be okay. And in the stillness of Zen, we begin to understand this not as a weakness, but as a sacred truth of being human. Life will break us open in many ways, not as punishment, but as invitation. An invitation to sit with what is raw and real, without rushing to fix it or flee. In the teachings of the Buddha, suffering is not something to be erased, but something to be understood, met with compassion, and gently held like a wounded bird. We are taught to observe our pain, not judge it, to breathe into it, not suppress it, to welcome it as part of the path, not as a detour. Just as a cracked bowl can still hold water and even let light shine through, so too can our broken places become the source of our deepest wisdom. In the space of our not okayness, we find tenderness, we find humility, we find connection with all beings who hurt, who heal, who walk this world trying their best. Zen does not demand perfection. It calls us to presence, and in presence, we discover that even our sorrow can be sacred. Our tears can be teachers. Our silence can be a sanctuary. When you are not okay, allow yourself to just be. Do not rush to improve or become. Sit, breathe, feel the ground beneath you. Let the storm pass without trying to control the sky. In time, even the darkest clouds move on, and in the quiet afterward, you may find that the parts of you that were broken are now blooming in the light of your awareness. Nothing needs to be forced. Nothing needs to be changed. Just be with yourself as you are, without judgment. And slowly, with gentleness, the heart remembers its own capacity to hold both joy and sorrow. This is the middle path. This is the wisdom of letting be. This is the practice of making peace with the full spectrum of human experience. In the teachings of Zen, every breath is a beginning. Every exhale is a letting go. You are not alone in your brokenness. You are part of the great unfolding, and in that, you are already whole. And when the waves of emotion swell again, as they inevitably will, remember that your task is not to resist them, but to ride them with awareness. Each emotion is a guest in the house of your being, and Zen teaches us to welcome them all, not with indulgence, but with presence. Anger, sadness, grief, confusion, these are not signs that you are failing. They are signs that you are alive. The lotus grows from the mud, not in spite of it, but because of it. And in the same way, our spiritual flowering comes not through avoidance of difficulty, but by turning toward it with soft eyes and an open heart. There is no emotion too dark for the light of mindfulness. There is no despair too deep for the raft of compassion. Breathe deeply. Sit quietly. Let yourself be held by the earth. Let the moment be just what it is. In that allowing, healing begins, not as a dramatic transformation, but as a subtle softening, a loosening of the grip, a return to yourself. And with each return, you grow more rooted in your truth. You learn that it's okay to carry sadness. It's okay to need rest. It's okay to feel lost. All of these are parts of the human condition, not errors to be corrected. The path of Zen invites you to walk with these companions, to listen to their wisdom, and to bow to their impermanence. Nothing stays. Not the pain, not the joy, not even the self you think you are. In this constant flux, we find freedom. We learn that the goal is not to be unbreakable, but to be unafraid of breaking, to break open, not down. And in the pieces, we find light. In the silence, we hear truth. In the not okayness, we remember that we are never truly alone. And so, in the tender practice of recognizing that it's okay to not be okay, we start to see our pain not as a sign of failure, but as a part of being human, a signal that we are alive, feeling, and capable of deep connection. When suffering is met with resistance, it grows jagged and restless, but when held gently with mindful awareness, it begins to soften. Just as a broken pot repaired with gold becomes more valuable in the art of kintsugi, so too does the human heart, worn and weathered by life, carry a beauty born from its healing. To sit quietly with one's pain is not weakness, It is courage. It is the moment when we become vast enough to contain both joy and sorrow without judgment. Zen does not promise a life free from suffering, but it does offer a way to suffer wisely, to feel deeply without drowning, and to walk through darkness with the lamp of awareness lit. Let each breath be a bow to your own resilience. Let each tear be honored as part of your sacred unfolding. When the mind spirals into self-doubt or shame, return to the breath, return to the body, return to the now. For right here, within this very moment, nothing more is required of you than presence. You are not broken in need of fixing. You are whole in need of witnessing. Healing does not always arrive with clarity or speed. Sometimes it creeps in slowly, like moss across stone, like sunlight through the forest canopy. It may not look the way you expected, but it is real. And the more you allow yourself to be exactly as you are, the more space you give life to move through you with grace. Trust this. Trust the unfolding. And in your stillness, may you find the strength not to overcome, but to become entirely, tenderly, and fully yourself. And as you sit quietly in the presence of your own heart, understand that this too is practice, not perfection, not escape, but presence. Each moment you allow yourself to feel your sorrow, without running from it, is a return to wholeness. Each time you stop measuring your worth by how unbroken you appear to others, you return to the truth. You are not here to be flawless, but to be fully awake, even in sadness, even in uncertainty, even in the aching silence that sometimes surrounds suffering. You are practicing the way. The Buddha never said we would not fall. He taught us how to rise with gentleness. He did not teach us to transcend our humanity, but to enter it so completely that we realize it was never separate from the sacred. Pain is not an error. It is not a detour. It is part of the path. The great compassion that arises in Zen begins with ourselves, not with fixing, but with witnessing, offering the same stillness, the same space to our pain as we would to a dear friend who has come seeking rest. There is no need to rush this process. Healing cannot be forced open like a bud. It unfolds in its own season. Trust that even if you cannot see it, something is changing, something is softening, something in you is learning to hold space for your own becoming. The tears, the silence, the emptiness, these are not signs of failure. They are the fertile soil from which your peace may eventually bloom. And until that bloom arrives, you do not need to pretend. You do not need to perform. You need only breathe. You need only sit. You need only be. In this stillness, let go of the myth that others are whole while you are cracked. Let go of the need to explain your pain. Let go of the belief that your worth is tied to how happy you seem. There is a deeper truth beneath the noise, that you as you are now, in all your fragility and messiness, are worthy of love. Not once you've healed, not once you've changed, now, exactly now. The lotus blooms from the mud, not in spite of it. The moon reflects its beauty even in the broken water. Your light, too, shines through the cracks. Let it. The practice of being okay with not being okay is a sacred rebellion against the pressure to always have it together. It's a soft vow to meet yourself with tenderness, even when the world does not. You do not have to carry everything alone. Lay down the burden of perfection. Rest in the breath. Trust in the silence. Let your presence be enough. Let this moment be enough. Let you be enough. And so we continue, flowing deeper into the gentle stillness of acceptance, where nothing needs to be fixed for it to be held in love. In the Zen tradition, there is a teaching that the broken cup is no less valuable because it is cracked. In fact, it is in the acknowledgement of its brokenness that it becomes precious, real, and sacred. You, too, are not diminished by your wounds. The spaces in you that ache are not voids to be feared, but doorways through which light can enter. In the quiet moments when you feel most lost, you are not far from the path. You are on it. The feelings you label as weakness, anxiety, sadness, exhaustion, are not signs you are failing, but invitations to listen more deeply. Sit with them, not to change them, but to learn from them. Ask your pain what it needs, not what it wants to avoid. Hold space for the part of you that is weary, not with judgment, but with the kindness of a friend who stays through the night. In this space of radical presence, healing is not a future goal, but a current unfolding. The Buddha spoke of suffering not to frighten us, but to point to the truth that it is universal and therefore connectable, shareable, transformable. You are not alone in your pain. Every being who has ever walked this path has known what it feels like to fall apart. And yet there is a quiet, unwavering strength that emerges when you stop pretending, when you stop resisting, and when you allow your suffering to soften your heart rather than harden it. This strength does not roar, it breathes. It sits silently beside the storm and says, "I will stay." You do not need answers. You do not need to rush into clarity. The practice is to remain with yourself, breath after breath, as you are. Just this moment, just this feeling, just this breath. When you are overwhelmed, simplify. Return to the breath. When the mind is noisy, return to the body. When emotions rise, bow to them as sacred guests. You are not here to control every wave of the ocean. You are here to learn how to float. And as you float, feel the vastness beneath you. Feel the support that life offers when you stop resisting what is. The deepest peace is not found in avoiding pain, but in allowing it to be here, without fear, without shame. Let each breath be an offering. Let each tear be a prayer. Let your stillness be your refuge. The moment you say to yourself, "It's okay to not be okay," you break the chains of self-rejection. You return to your essence, which has never been broken, never been wrong, never been unworthy. There is no storm that can erase the sky. There is no darkness that can eliminate the truth of your being. And in this moment, with all that you carry, all that you feel, all that you are enough. Stay here. Keep breathing. Let the practice be this simple: to sit in the truth of your own experience, to meet it with compassion, and to know beyond all doubt that being here fully is the most profound act of healing there is. And so we continue, tenderly, patiently, and without rushing, as the path of Zen reminds us that no step is wasted when walked with awareness. When the heart is heavy, when the mind is clouded, when life feels overwhelming, it is not a sign to push harder, but an invitation to soften. There is deep wisdom in surrender, not the surrender of giving up, but the surrender of giving in to what is already here. In this sacred letting go, we come closer to the truth. That pain, too, is a teacher. That struggle, too, is part of the unfolding. Just as the lotus rises from the mud without clinging to it, we, too, can grow through the thick of our emotions without becoming them. You are not your sadness. You are not your fear. You are the spacious awareness in which all emotions arise and dissolve again and again, like clouds across the sky. And no matter how many clouds there are, the sky remains untouched, limitless, open. Return to this awareness. Trust in it. Let it hold what feels too heavy to carry alone. Zen does not offer quick fixes or empty platitudes. It offers presence. It asks you to breathe, even when the breath feels shallow. It asks you to sit with yourself, even when your inner world feels unbearable. And in that sitting, in that staying, you will find a quiet truth rising, that your brokenness is not a flaw in your design, but a feature of your humanity. Everyone suffers, everyone hurts, everyone feels lost sometimes. And when we embrace that shared experience with open-hearted honesty, a kind of silent strength emerges, a resilience that does not shout, but simply stays, a peace that does not depend on circumstances, but on presence, a love that does not need to be earned, only remembered. Let yourself remember, you were born worthy. You were born whole, even if life has chipped away at your sense of self. In each breath, you have the chance to return, to sit, to soften, to start again. Then let us continue, slowly and gently, with the same patience that the seasons offer the changing leaves. Each breath becomes a bridge between what was and what now is. When you feel lost in your suffering, remember this. In Buddhism, pain is not an enemy, but a messenger. It shows you where the heart longs to be seen, where healing still waits to unfold. The practice is not to escape emotion, but to allow it to be here without resistance. Like waves meeting the shore, feelings come and go, sometimes fierce, sometimes soft, but always impermanent. You aren't feeling when you cry. You are not broken when you feel overwhelmed. You are human, and your tears are holy. Each one is a drop of your truth, a release of what no longer needs to be held in silence. In the Zen way, there is no destination to reach, only a deepening into what is. So when you feel like you cannot move forward, do not force yourself. Instead, pause, sit with your breath, let the stillness speak. You may find that the peace you were chasing was waiting in the quiet all along. Then let us continue walking this quiet path, where no step is wasted and no emotion is too much. The Zen way teaches us that nothing needs to be fixed for it to be fully honored. Even our most painful feelings can be held in a space of compassion. When you say, "It's okay to not be okay," you are not giving up. You are bowing gently to the truth of the moment. And in that bow, in that gesture of humility and acceptance, something shifts. Not the pain itself, perhaps, but your relationship to it. You no longer demand that sadness leave. Instead, you allow it to sit beside you, breathing with you. In this still companionship, there is healing. Zen does not ask us to fight the storm, only to remain grounded while it passes. You may feel broken, but your awareness is whole. You may feel lost, but your presence is here. The self that watches, that feels, that breathes, it is vast and spacious enough to hold every sorrow, every regret, every uncertainty. As you become more aware of your pain without judgment, it begins to transform. Not because you fixed it, but because you loved it. And in loving it, you loved yourself. This is the quiet revolution of Buddhism, not to rise above your wounds, but to walk with them as sacred teachers. So today, do not strive to be anything other than what you are. Sit, breathe, let this moment be enough. And so we continue, not rushing toward healing, but simply allowing each breath to guide us gently back to ourselves. In the Zen tradition, to fully experience brokenness is to walk the true path of awakening. The shattered pieces of the self are not errors, they are openings. When a bowl cracks and is repaired with gold, it becomes more precious, not in spite of its damage, but because of it. Likewise, your emotional scars are part of your beauty, not blemishes to be hidden. The mind will often resist this truth, whispering that you must be better, happier, stronger. But in Zen, we learn that resistance is suffering. Peace arises not from escape, but from intimacy with what is. So, you sit with your anxiety, your grief, your shame, not to analyze or correct them, but to witness them with kindness. This witnessing is powerful. It is the beginning of liberation. You begin to see that your feelings are like waves. They rise, they crest, they fall, but the ocean of awareness beneath them remains undisturbed. You are not the wave. You are the ocean. And when you stop trying to control the waves, you begin to float. The Buddha taught that life includes dukkha, suffering, unsatisfactoriness. But he also taught that through understanding, mindfulness, and compassion, suffering transforms. When you embrace your pain with mindfulness, you touch something sacred, the raw, real essence of being alive. And there, in that tender space, compassion is born, not just for yourself, but for everyone who suffers. You begin to understand that we are all broken in some way, all walking with invisible burdens. This shared fragility binds us, and when we meet each other not from perfection, but from presence, we discover deep connection. So let your brokenness soften you. Let it open your heart. Instead of closing it, let it remind you that you do not have to be whole to be worthy. You do not have to be healed to be loved. You only have to be here, breathing, aware, alive. If this message brought you calm, this space is always here for you. Subscribe, return, and walk this quiet path with us, one breath at a time. Until next time, remember, we are all broken. That's how the light gets in.